Good afternoon, evening, or morning, depending on where you are at. Thanks for joining us here at Build 2020. My name is Stephen Rose. I am a 12-year Microsoft veteran. I spent time on the Windows team, OneDrive, Teams, and Microsoft 365. So we're super excited to have you here today. Our goal is really just to answer your questions. I have some slides that I can share with you. We can do some demos, but I am happy to answer questions. How do I build? We already have one. How do I build an event like this with Microsoft Teams? Well, in Teams, there is a drop-down. It will have to be turned on by your administrator. And where it says inside of Teams to go ahead and create a live meeting on your calendar, you'll actually see another one that says live event. And once you pick that, you can invite people to your live event and you can publish a live event. So that's how you go ahead and do that. Today we're going to talk about remote work, although again, I'm happy to take questions on any areas around Microsoft 365, which is Windows, Office, and our security products. So let me go ahead and switch to that. I want to kind of get through a few slides and some housekeeping, and then we'll go from there. So we have our agenda. Like I said, my name is Stephen Rose. I'm excited to see you here today. Oh, I almost forgot. If you have any questions after the session, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Stephen L. Rose. It's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Use the chat box to ask questions, post anonymously, or you can use your name. It's completely up to you. Questions will appear to all once approved. Upvote your favorites. Using a thumbs up, experts will answer verbally, that would be me, and we'll answer the most popular questions first. Be aware the session may be recorded for internal use. Please don't record the session. Try not to spam the chat, and of course, adhere to our Microsoft Code of Conduct, the same one that you've seen in every all of our events today. So how can Microsoft help you to enable remote work? The way that we really look at remote work in this time of COVID, before and during, is really how we empower people to stay productive, and from an IT pro standpoint, how do you maintain security and control? And that's broken down by enabling people to meet and collaborate from home. And as we dig into that, it really gets into how do we do things like virtual events and communications, like the event that you're joining me at right now, through things like, Teams live events, regular Teams, no matter how you're sort of using those platforms. You can be leveraging Yammer. There's a wide variety, and I'll give you a list of some great resources that will help you. How to make productivity applications available on any device. That's Mac, PC, iOS, Android, and web. Deliver the best virtual desktop experience, and that's Windows Virtual Desktop, which if you have a E1, E3, or E5 license, you already have Windows Virtual Desktop, in which you can run Windows 10 and or Windows 10 apps virtualized and push out to a physical desktop. You can push out a full virtual desktop, and we support Windows 7 and Windows 7 apps through 2025 inside of Windows Virtual Desktop. Secure remote access to applications, whether you're using things like Intune, Mobile Iron, AirWatch, CCM, and securing and managing and unmanaging devices. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and click on this link up here, and I'm going to take you here to a web page. So let me switch back here, and we'll bring that up. So give me a moment. If you go out to, let's do this. I'll put the link in the window, but it's aka.ms/enabling remote work. You will see that we have a, sorry, gotta minimize that. Sorry, I'm having problems getting my browser up, so give me a moment. There we go. All right, let's go back to the sharing window, go back to my content. Actually, I'm just gonna go to me. I'll send me live. So if you take a look at aka.ms/enabling remote work, you'll see the webinars and a wide variety of webinars and lists and information that we've given you to help to do this. I have a bunch of questions. So Scott R said, I manage design technology for an architecture firm. Architects need to use VPN and RDP to work on their in-office PCs to work on large 3D files that have links to other files on the network. The file types then have a local file on their user's computer, which then communicates constantly with a centralized file on the network. The suggestions for taking advantage of Microsoft technologies to streamline this or make it work better. Absolutely, there's a few things that you can do. Number one, split tunnel VPN may be one of the first things to take a look at, which will ensure that you're using a lower amount of bandwidth when doing something like this. OneDrive, we have a partnership with AutoCAD. You can actually leverage AutoCAD through the browser, leveraging local files. The great thing is if you're using OneDrive with files on demand, you're only having local copies of the files that are actually being used. So what's great is you have the ability to actually say, if there are 50 files, all of them are in the cloud. Once they double click one, that one will then be loaded locally, and they can be using that. And we actually support AutoCAD preview and the ability to use AutoCAD through the web. So we have it where if somebody opens it up in OneDrive on the browser, it will actually open up AutoCAD inside of a frame, and they can actually work with AutoCAD then in that way. So look to leverage AutoCAD through the browser. This will certainly help if it is AutoCAD. There's other 3D technologies that we do support. I can get a full list of those files for you if you go out to our docs.microsoft.com/OneDrive. We have a large list of them there, but then you're able to work with it within the browser. So look at leveraging that. You also could use Windows Virtual Desktop. So you could load AutoCAD as an application inside of Windows Virtual Desktop, and you can have their OneDrive files synced to that instance. So now, rather than having to go through a VPN, which is slow and going to use up a lot of access, by using Windows Virtual Desktop, you're now opening up a special desktop for that. The files there are located in the cloud and everything can sync. So that's a few of the different ways that you may want to look at that. We did a blog post about a year ago on AutoCAD and OneDrive on the OneDrive blog. And I know we also support, and I can get a list of the files. I'll try to find that by the end of this. So that's one of the first ways that hopefully that helps you there, Scott. What is one of the best ways to add external groups and users to Teams and or SharePoint? Primary purpose is to share files with external groups and companies. Well, you can do that today inside of Teams. You can invite people that are external into your team and give them access to documents. What I do recommend is that you set up on several levels some security around those files. So you can either make it through, you can have certain files that are not going to be allowed to be shared out because you're using cataloging. You can use some of the functionality like DLP or things like that, which is going to ensure that files that have critical information in them are not being able to be shared out. And if somebody leaves the group, you can remove access to those by leveraging some of our encryption technologies, like Azure, Azure encrypted files. You can encrypt those, and then when the project's over, you can remove access to those. So you can invite people in. You can also have private shares, and you can have public shares inside of Teams. So you can say, this is for everybody in the group, but I'm going to start a private group inside where only things, let's say, for my full-time employees or company employees are going to be there. Everything else that's in there can be done. But that's probably going to be one of your easiest ways. Also, OneDrive fully supports being able to share with external groups and companies. We support that either as an anonymous share or leveraging Azure B2B. You can set up Azure B2B, business to business, and you can pick and choose, because then it adds them as a guest to your organization, and then you can control who can share, who can't, for how long, and who can get those files. So I don't know if there's more to your question, feel free to drop it in. I'll be happy to go back. We actually use Autodesk Revit, which offers a ton more communication than AutoCAD. I understand. Revit does use a lot more. I know that we have partnered with AutoCAD. I had them on stage with me about a year ago, 2 years ago, to talk about what they're doing there. So I may take a look at the WVD, Windows Virtual Desktop, and see if that turns into a possible good way for you to be able to solve that issue and be able to move through it. Is Office 365 approved to work on DoD network with impact level 5 requirements? Only if you are using our government cloud. So we currently, we have the Department of Defense is currently on Microsoft 365, as is the DOJ, the Department of Justice, but everything they do is hosted in government cloud. So you're going to want to look at hosting in government cloud in order to meet the network and impact level requirements. We do have a website that is fully dedicated to our government cloud. So let me find that and I will post that into the chat for you, which will walk you through all of those requirements and what is there. So give me one moment. Here we go, government cloud computing. I will put that in the chat for you. HT. So there, it will list the requirements and how you can move forward. Will DRM work with external users and teams? DRM is not going to work outside of your company the way that Azure Information Protection will. DRM is really for people inside of your organization. So, hi, I want to put a legal hold on this. I want to do it. It can call back to your servers, but it's not always the best way to do things. Azure Information Protection is really in place to do this. And what it's going to do is it is going to encrypt that document, and all your users have rights to it that are a member of that team or that group. But what's great is when you remove someone from that team, from the group, from Azure B2B, etc., it then is going to rescind that certificate for them, so that when they go to access that content, no matter where it's stored, on a USB drive, Google Drive, etc., it really doesn't matter. What will happen is that's going to call home, and then they're no longer going to have any access to that information. And that's really the critical thing, where DRM is great for internally, for legal purposes, for holds. You're really going to find that Azure Information Protection is going to be a better tool for you. So let me get you some information on Azure Information Protection. Here we go. And I will put that in the chat for you. And that hopefully will answer your question. Similar questions. Any update on ability to log into Teams with multiple accounts at the same time? Unfortunately not. I have done a workaround with this by actually running it in the browser, where I can have 2 or 3 different browser versions running at a time, or having one version running on my iPad, one running on my laptop. The biggest reason why we haven't done that to date is to ensure that that if you have multiple instances open, that we can hold the security token for each of those appropriately. We want to make sure that you're not taking something from one version of Teams or a file or something and dragging it into another, sharing something going across, that each of those has its own session, and each of those sessions is being governed by the security rights within that. So it is something that we're working on. Like I said, you can do it through the browser by opening up multiple browser windows, and you can do that. That's been the best way to see it. But I know our goal is to bring that together. I know the other thing we've heard from a lot of folks is it would be great to know not just that, you know, there are messages, but which communities are those in, and have those pop up and have people communicate. It is, sorry, it's been a long day here at Build. It is something that is important to us. It's something we've heard quite a bit, and it is something that we're working on. So I'm going to give you a thumbs up on that one, and hopefully that answers that question. If someone is using Windows Virtual Desktop, do they see in-office network drives just as they were actually in the office? I recommend not using in-office network drives. I really recommend moving that content to Sharepoint, as that is going to be easier. It's going to give you more control, and it's going to be much faster. You can set it up where they can see drives, where basically what you can do is you can create a file share in Server, and you can put that file share there, and you can set that up for folks. But I would probably, like I said, recommend that you actually move that content to SharePoint, to an HR SharePoint, marketing SharePoint, sales SharePoint. It's much easier for people to find things. They can search for it right from Windows. It's not going to require these drives to go out and go connect. It's going to reduce the amount of files that you're moving back and forth. It's just going to make life much easier. So take a look at that. But yes, there is. I will give you a link to Windows Virtual Desktop. And if you look inside of docs.com for Windows Virtual Desktop, you will find information on how to bring that together. So hang on, I will grab that link. There we go. And I will drop that in for you. And there you go. Hopefully that will work. Any updates on Office for iPad? I'm having great adoption with Office for iOS and a lot of demand to be able to sign documents from emails in the Outlook app. That's a great question. I don't have any specific updates. I know we're doing quite a bit that you'll be able to have multiple versions of the same document open. I have an iPad. I use it quite often. It's a big tool that I use throughout the day. I know we're doing that. I also know that you can do document signing through the Office app, which is available for iOS. Let me see if I can bring this up. But one of the things that I really love, and this is pretty cool, is under Actions. So I'm looking at this Office app. Hang on, let me see if I can get that in view there. See the one that says Office? You can download it. And once it's open, one of the cool things that you have is sign a PDF, where you can actually sign a PDF. Sorry, I know it's a little hard to see, but you can actually sign a PDF there, which is great. And you can also scan pictures into it. And I've done it to bring in documents, save them, brought them in, sign them, and then return them through that. So it's one of the best ways that I know. You can do that on, that is built for iOS and Android, so you can do that. There's some other really cool things that we'll have some announcements for in the next month or two on iOS. We're working very hard on it. I'm a big iOS user, so I'm excited to see that with the new trackpad, which I got for my iPad, for the new keyboard. I'm excited to see leverage more of that so I can have a better experience in there. So thanks for your question. Natalie, we use Teams a lot for daily communications, meeting, discussions, ideation, etc. The most difficult one is discussions and ideation kind of meetings. Any tips for facilitating this type of meeting? This live events feature looks really cool too. Yes, live events is a great way to do that. Two things I might recommend. Number one is you can also do live events through Yammer. And Yammer's great because you can do polls, you can have people having conversations, a lot of double clicks there. So, and that's something we do internally. When Satya does one of his calls with us, he'll come on video, we'll have some moderators, it'll go into Yammer, we can see all the conversations, we can do polls, we can go back and forth, and that can get stored. So that's one. The other one is Microsoft Whiteboard. Microsoft Whiteboard is available on iPad, it's available for PC, it's available for Mac, and you can open that up and have people start to write and draw and work together. You can do that inside of Teams, or you can just do Microsoft Whiteboard separately. Allowing people to go in and write and draw and type and cut and paste for things like idea boards as you're pulling things together becomes a really great way to bring some of that together. So take a look at Yammer. If you go to the aka.ms, the remote work site that I was talking about a little bit earlier, aka.ms/enabling remote work, episode 1 dealt specifically with this, how to use team live events, how to use Yammer, and how to bring that into those meetings. So yeah, Natalie, check that out. I'm going to put that link here in the window for you, and let me know how it works out for you. Catch me on Twitter, and I would love to hear how that's moving forward. Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate your votes for the session. I give external users an account in my tenant to use that kind of sensitivity. Sorry, I give external users an account in my tenant to use the whole sensitivity labeling function. Any other ideas, or is it valid? You can do that, but again, as I said earlier, I would probably look at Azure B2B as a better way to do that and to control those users. So great question, Ralph. What is the difference between Windows Virtual Desktop and simply accessing through a web browser with two-factor authentication? Windows Virtual Desktop allows you to virtualize your desktops and applications in two key ways. Number one, we can push somebody out their virtual desktop. So what's great is I have my apps. Because I'm using OneDrive, I see all my files on the desktop. I have access to everything, which is great, all my apps. But the other thing that you can do is you can push out specific applications to an end user. So you could say, everybody's doing this, but I want to train people in, I don't know, I'm going to pick something. Let's say they were using an old version of Photoshop, or let's say you're using Skype and you want to push out, Skype for Business, and you want to push out Teams, but you don't want to disable the previous app. Or let's say they're using Slack today and you're saying, hi, we're on Slack, but by October 1st, we're going to be on Teams. You don't want to have any confusion between, let's say, Slack and Teams and what folks are using. So what you could do is you could leave Slack on their desktop and push out Teams as a virtual application. It shows up on their desktops. When they launch it, it launches it in a sandboxed virtual environment. And now they're able to use that without interfering with any other apps, without adding any DLLs or redirectors or things like that that can create confusion. The other great thing is, unlike remote desktop, we are continuing to support Windows 7 applications and Windows 7 in Windows Virtual Desktop till 2025. So you also have the ability, if you have an app that you've not been able to turn into a web app that is still critical to your business, you can actually just host that application in there. And it's free if you have an E1, E3, or E5 Microsoft 365 subscription, because it's a one-to-one license with Windows. So again, take a look. I posted the link a little bit earlier for Windows Virtual Desktop, but especially if you're using things like Citrix or things along that line, you're already getting this for free, so you're able to leverage that, and you can use that as a simpler way to be able to do that. And you can also say no ports can get accessed. You can turn off access to the USB drive so that everything that stays within it is a closed environment. And you can also create a standard environment. You can say everybody gets this environment, and at the end of the session, it returns back to XYZ setting if you have help desk workers that are continually going in. So from a fully customized your environment to a standardized environment, you have a pretty great way to be able to do that. So I hope that answers your question. How can I contact Scott R to chat more on this topic? Scott, please ping Jerome. Jerome, if you put, let's say, your Twitter address in here, we'll make sure that Scott gets it. So thanks for reaching out. Or you can ping me on Twitter and Scott ping me, and we'll try to get you guys together. Your favorite solution for external Windows Virtual Desktop or Citrix with MFA? Only external and team invites, full account to give out. I'd probably say Windows Virtual Desktop if you already have that suite of products. If you already have that license, you're going to have that right now for free without having to pay for Citrix, which is great. I'm also fine. I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're just having a project and you're having a few vendors that are interacting with your folks, Teams becomes a great way just for them to interact on that. I don't need to sit there and start creating whole new accounts and new desktops. If I have a vendor that's going to be working for me on a project and they need access to resources on my network, then a Windows Virtual Desktop is going to be a great way to do it. They can bring in their own BYOD device, but they have to go through WVD. That's a closed loop. They can't save anything locally, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I can really ensure that I have that security there and move that forward. So that's my answer there. How difficult is it to use move folder redirection with users' home drives to OneDrive? It is super easy. I'm going to show you how easy it is. So hang on a second. I'm going to close out of this and I'm going to share my desktop. So give me a moment. Sorry, sharing is different in here. Share, that's what I'm looking for. Share screen one. I'm going to go here to OneDrive. Hopefully you can, oh no, you can't see that because I have not sent that live yet. So let's do this. My desktop, send live, Hang on, it's coming over. All right, awesome. I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to go down here to OneDrive. Oops, let's move that out of the way. I'm going to go down here to OneDrive. I'm going to go to Settings, and I'm going to go to Backup and Manage Backup. Now, you can do this through a group policy or a script, and then once you click that, you can either have end users do this, or you can push up that desktop documents and pictures by just turning this on. It moves it automatically to OneDrive. And what's great here is, as I open up my Windows Explorer and I take a look at desktop, we can see here by the status. I'm going to zoom in here. Hang on. There we go. Zoom it. Zoom in. Here we go. We can see that all of the files on my desktop are in OneDrive because they have either these cloud icons or these local desktop icons. And I can see the same here as I look at documents. I have that same set of status where everything was there. What's great is it is automatically set up. It's super easy for you to push that out as a policy if you choose to do so, or have individual users use that. But it's really, really easy to do. It's not like the old days where you have to start doing folder redirection and go in and do a target drive. It's that simple to do. So hopefully that answers your question. We use group chat a lot to keep teams engaged. Awesome. On iOS, you can reply to a post quoting the text with a long press and choose reply. Is there a way to do this on the web or desktop client? I don't know. I've not even done that. So send that to me here. I'm going to give you my Twitter address. Send that question to me, and I will find out, and I will ask, and I will chat with the appropriate people to get that answer for you. How can I create Teams rooms for when we can get back into the office? We have M365 licensing. Do I need anything other than licensing? Well, a Teams room is usually based on hardware. So with that, you have cameras, you're using a Surface Hub, you're using a Polyphone or something along that line. And for that, all you need to do is you'll need to register those devices as a resource. So when the room is booked, those resources are with it. And that way, when you walk into the room, those meetings are already up on the screen, ready to go, and someone just presses that. So if you do, I want to say it's Teams hardware. Hang on, I'll find you the link. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Teams rooms. I will put that link in there, but it will go through on a series of articles on how to plan, deploy, and manage that. So I will put that there for you, and hopefully that answers your question. What are the top tips for an SMB looking to set up infrastructure and deploy Microsoft 365, new tenant approved? And how do we explain confidential info is secured in the cloud like HR and financial data? Wow, that is a great question. I'm going to try to answer this as succinctly as I can. Number one, the cloud. We have tons of customers that you can go take a look at, including small businesses that are using it. You can go out to our case study site and take a look and say, look, here are other customers in our own industry that are using this. Number two, we have a ton of data that you can take a look and see that the cloud, not just our cloud, but whether you're looking at our cloud, Azure, Amazon, etc., is more secure than your own servers. Why? Dedicated staffs are there, ensure. Why is ours better than others? I'm going to let you go out to our Azure site and take a look. We have a ton of data. We provide security information to all of the major security companies on how we do that and go through. But the great thing is, by it being in there, you now have better control, better management. You know where those documents are at. You know who has looked at them, who have used them. You have greater control to control things like 5-year holds, things not being deleted, and being able to do that. As for how to set that up, Jeremy Chapman in Garage Mechanics has a great video. I will try to find the link for you on setting up a new tenant and for Microsoft 365. Also, if you go out to docs.microsoft.com, go to Microsoft 365, you'll see SMB deployment that will talk about how best to do that. Here's the thing that I recommend, which is start training early, start awareness early. Hi, We're going to be moving to a tenant, and this is what we're going to be doing, and here's the value. Your documents are going to be available to you on any device, which means if your laptop dies, not a problem. You can go to anybody's laptop, sign in through, and leverage, please do, multi-factor authentication. It's not what you know, it's what you have. Your finger, your face, whatever it is that you're using. And you're going to be able to log into that and get to your content and continue to work. Today, if your laptop gets destroyed or it gets stolen, you run into a lot of issues. So that's really sort of the first thing. The second thing is, where do people work and how do they work? Should everything be done through a browser, through desktop apps? So we're going to use Windows Virtual Desktop, VPN. How much data is being shared? How are you going to protect it? Are you going to leverage something like Azure Information Protection to be able to support that? So there's a lot of things there. I will find you a link in a little bit. If I don't, if I run out of time, ping me on Twitter, and I will absolutely get you some, because it's a great question and I could easily spend an hour talking about it. Remote users are not local administrators. Any suggestions on supporting remote users requiring elevated permissions? Teams share screen doesn't work. I don't, Michael. Ping me on Twitter, and I'm going to connect you with the person who is the best expert I know on screen sharing. And somebody does not have to be an admin to screen share, so I'm not sure why that's not working. So it's not, you don't need to be a local admin to share screen. So that sounds interesting. I have a feeling it's a setting somewhere. So reach out to me on Twitter and I'll help you troubleshoot that. Folder redirection is already in place to the file server, and we want to move that and redirect to OneDrive. Okay. That gets a little more difficult when you're doing that. I would probably say look at the SPMT, the SharePoint Migration Toolkit. Hang on, SPMT. Oh, sorry, not SP. And I'll get you a link. And the other thing, of course, that you can do is you can reach out to Fast Track, our Fast Track team. Our Fast Track team, depending on what kind of license you have, can actually help you with that. Here is the SharePoint migration tool. This is a free tool that we have that you can use to actually move shares from a share drive to SharePoint, and in many cases also to OneDrive. So take a look at that and see if that solves your need. Hopefully it will, and we can take a look from there, which hopefully will help you out. Sorry, share screen works. I just can't do some admin tasks like installs. What type of install, Michael, are you trying to do? You should be able, everything in Teams should work if I go back and look at that. I mean, people don't have to be an admin. You can create local rights for users. There's a variety of ways to do that. MDM and ADM works great, something like Microsoft Intune, where you can say they're allowed to install this app. And you can even go further with that as you look at things like App Locker, where you can say they're allowed to install Adobe Acrobat, but only this version or higher, or they're allowed to install all applications from Adobe. So I might look at something like App Locker. Find a link for you for that. Hang on, here we go. For Windows 10, App Locker. So App Locker may be a good way where you can pick policies that are going to choose what you can and cannot install on a device and create policies around that. All right, we are at 4:49. How much more time do I have, Cassandra, or have I run over?
You have run over, but that's okay.
Okay, I had a feeling I might have. So this was great. Everybody, thank you once again. I'm going to put my Twitter address here in the window so everybody can, if you need to get a hold of me, reach me there. Thank you for joining us. Also check out the aka.ms/enable remote work. That is my site where we have our webinars and information on this and more that we're going to do. Thank you so much for attending. thanks. I see also a few other people. Rob Zelt is there and some others, so this is great. Yes, that is a Geddy Lee Jazz over my right shoulder. Hang on, I'll show it. Be the last thing I do. It is my extremely cool Geddy Lee anniversary bass guitar. So, on that note, thanks everybody for joining. It was great seeing you. Glad we got through most of this, and yeah, let me know what I can do to help. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Oops, hang on, I can't hear you, Sandra.
There is a feedback. There's a feedback survey that you can submit your feedback about this session. So I posted that in the chat.
Awesome.
So just take a look at that if you have the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, please give me feedback. It always helps. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. We'll talk to you soon.